You're listening to The Rich Life Revolution with me, Michelle Cooper. My mission is to empower you to step into your next level of wealthy. You'll hear all the deets, a little bit of inspiration, and real life takeaways so that you can create your own rich life revolution. Let's dig in. Hey girl, hey, welcome to our latest episode of the Rich Life Revolution, from Burnout to Bliss. I am joined by my guest, Janet Mohapi-Banks, who is a happiness coach, a best-selling author, and formerly a luxury cake designer, like OMG. We're talking about the high achiever paradox, why having it all often doesn't feel like even close to enough. In this episode today, we're going to be talking about the toxic side of ambition and why high achievers often burn out. We'll also dig into how fear, control, and perfectionism creates a cycle that strangles the joy in our lives. We dive into why happiness is not found in external achievements and what you can do instead. And you'll hear about Janet's near-death experience and what it taught her about success and how she completely transformed her life. And my favorite part, the importance of celebrating wins, embracing your past self, and redefining success on your term. And extra juicy moment, Janet coaches me through my own limiting beliefs about identity and success. So let's take a listen. Hey, Janet. So good to see you.
So good to see you too.
Awesome. I am so excited for this conversation. So yeah, I think we can dive right in. I would love for you to share with our listeners a little bit about yourself. And what I usually say is brag about yourself, Janet.
Brag about myself. Wow. So my name is Janet Mohapi-Banks. I'm a happiness coach, mentor, consultant, and speaker. And I work with high achievers and soul seekers who, despite having everything they've worked for, haven't found the fulfillment, peace of mind, and happiness that they thought would come with their success.
Right.
I'm best-selling author of the book Habits for Happiness as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you originally come from England?
I do originally come from England, yes, and I'm currently living in Vancouver, Canada, and absolutely loving it.
Yay!
Yeah,
my hometown and a place that's very close to my heart. All my kids were born there, so
it's
good.
Amazing.
So let's talk about happiness and fulfillment and the fact that many of my listeners are entrepreneurs, right? They're business owners. They're even they might have a career. They're usually high achievers, right? They've worked, I don't want to say hard, but that might be their experience. They've worked, like in my business, my business is 14 years old now, and I've put a lot of time and energy and stuff into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get to a certain level of success, right? Like I'm a multi-seven-figure business owner now, and then what, right?
Right.
I remember
and that's what happens
with
a lot of people.
And somebody had said to me last year, are you playing to win, or are you playing not to lose? And I realized that I was playing not to lose because I was scared of losing what I had built.
Yeah.
What's up with that, Janet? What's going on there?
So for a lot of my clients, and also this is completely my story as well, we get to a certain level and we're like, and? Is this it? Is this the best that I'm going to feel? Yeah. And it's because we are taught that we are not allowed to feel happy unless we're achieving. Yeah. Unless we are actively achieving all the time. But because we are high achievers, what often happens is as soon as we get the thing that we're working for, we are on to the next goal.
Mm.
Yeah. So we're constantly going up the hill without appreciating how far we've come. Yeah.
Right. Right. So do we need to stop and pause,
Yeah.
celebrate, acknowledge?
Celebrate. Absolutely. Celebrate, acknowledge, say, wow, you know what? I've done really, really well. Because that's also something that is kind of taught into us that we're not allowed to admit to ourselves. Because if we get comfortable, then we get lazy, then we get complacent. So we're not allowed to feel the comfort of our achievements, because that makes us kind of weak in an awful lot of cases as well. You know, you
Right.
have to be this go-getter. And unless you're go-getting, how can you possibly allow yourself to feel happy? How can you possibly allow yourself to feel successful when there are still people ahead of you? Yeah.
Right. And there's always going to be people ahead of you.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. None of it actually makes sense.
Right.
But it's the programming that we've received. Yeah. And like for me, because I used to be a luxury cake designer working in like some of the most prestigious places in London, Mayfair. I was one of 2 recommended cake suppliers to the Ritz Hotel in Mayfair.
Wow.
And so I was high in my career. You know, I was in all the wedding magazines. I was on wedding TV and all the things. But then, like you say, that fear of losing what I had surpassed my passion for the thing that I was doing.
Right. And what did that feel like?
So for me, that felt like the more successful I became, the more stress I had, the more fear I had of losing it all, the more dissatisfied I was in what I was doing, because that's when, along with the fear, comes with control.
Right. Right.
And that control completely strangled the life out of my business, because I was like, well, you know, it's my name on the cakes. I'm the only person that can decorate them. I'm the only person that can even tie a bow, because I gave a bow to somebody once and they didn't tie it the way that I wanted it tied. And it's like, oh my God, that can't go out like that. So I ended up redoing all the bows, and it's crazy control like that. And that's obviously perfectionism as well, which is something that an awful lot of high achievers suffer from. But again, perfectionism is all about control, and control is all about fear. So that's where we get into this cycle, this never-ending cycle. And it is really hard to get out of, you know,
Right.
once it like grabs us.
And so how did you recognize this in yourself? Like, you were like, oh my God, like, I'm now scared of losing what I have created. Like, did you have that self-awareness?
I wish that I had. I really wish that I had that self-awareness at the time. For me, it didn't work that way. For me, I just overworked. I used to work 36 hours straight because I was absolutely obsessed with delivering the freshest cakes available. So I would, you know, literally work from Thursday morning through to Saturday delivery, like all through the night and all the things. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. That's the only real word I've got for that. For me, that resulted in me burning out. And as a result of my burnout, I vomited multiple times a day, every single day for 5 years.
Oh my God.
I had the prognosis of a slow death by starvation. I completely exhausted all of modern medicine. I was on experimental drugs, on experimental devices, and nothing worked. So my prognosis, like I say, was a slow death by starvation. And it was in those 5 years of being bedridden that I had the opportunity to look back at my life, at my career, and realize that I had made all of these decisions along the way that led me to this point. You know, and at the time I didn't expect to see my son's 10th birthday. He's 18 now, so yay.
Yay. Yay.
You know, but so it wasn't until I burned out completely and had to close my business that I was like holding on so tightly to, that I understood all the, and I'm not calling them mistakes, Mistakes came into my mind, but they're not mistakes. They are the decisions that I made through fear. But at the time, I didn't know that all the decisions I was making were made through fear.
Right.
So now, because I've done so much work around it, and obviously I help people to identify their own fear-based actions, now I can see this decision that I'm making, what is the thinking behind it? What is the belief behind that thinking?
Right.
You know? And so I'm able to like pluck it out of the sky and not go down that same path again. But without that awareness, that's what led me to, almost dying, like actively dying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's pretty serious, right? And I'm glad you're here, kind of thing. Like I'm happy about that. I'm sure your family is. And, I think that a lot of people go through this, right? I've talked to a lot of people who've come out of corporate and jump into entrepreneurship, and they've come out of corporate because they're burnt out. And I'm thinking, I don't know that entrepreneurship is the thing to ease your burnout. Like, if anything, you're just ramping up in another direction, right? Because it takes energy to lift a business off the ground, right? And
yes, it really
I
does.
guess that's part of where that fear comes from, is like, I put all this time, I put all this money, I put all this energy into creating this business or building this career. And what do I do without it? Maybe, or what if it all comes crashing down? For me, like I said, full transparency, this is something that invades my thinking quite frequently. It's sometimes challenging to navigate, right? And I come back to trust that everything is working out exactly how it should, right? So even if my business did burn to the ground, that's for my greatest good, right? And everybody's, right? That can be hard to trust, especially if things are, going sideways kind of thing. But I don't know any other way, right? Like a few years ago, or maybe a little bit more than a few years ago, I got an invitation to work for an amazing person, a coach. Even though I have my own business, right? He wanted me to be the lead business and mindset coach. And I jumped all over that opportunity. It felt right at the time. I had an amazing 2 years in that company while I also ran my own business, but I walked away after 2 years because I just knew, even though it paid really well, I was doing all these awesome things, like I just knew there was something not right. Something wasn't sitting right with me anymore. So I could walk away from that, but I had the backup of my business, right?
Yeah.
So I still had what I considered a safety net kind of thing, right? And I wonder, is that something that people, like when you're working with people, does that kind of come up in the conversation of like, is there a safety, are they building a safety net so that they, can navigate change? Or is it just like your situation where you're just unable to continue on in that business? Does that come up for people?
The idea of a safety net so your safety net was because you had your business. Yeah. So your business was your safety net. Yeah. And for a lot of the people that I work with, that their business is their all. Yeah. Business is their all or nothing. So without their business, they kind of lose. Right. Yeah. There is no other safety net. So if you were to close your business now, what would your safety net be?
Well, now I wouldn't have one now, right? Like it'd be, I don't know, whatever money I got in the bank. Or when I think about this for myself, my safety net is my exit, which is selling the business at some point.
Okay. So,
right?
So you do have a safety net, because if things got too much, then you could sell your business and that would provide you with enough of an income.
Provide you something.
Right.
Like, there's a difference between selling your business, taking your time, getting the right price and, all that stuff. And like, shit, I need to be out of this business now because I'm breaking down kind of thing. Right. Which might mean you take a lower price or, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And, I think about that because this does come up for me, quite a bit of this idea of like playing to not lose rather than playing to win, being on defense rather than offense,
Mm-hmm.
and being scared of losing what I have built. I remember talking to a friend of mine a couple of years ago, and I was like, well, what if I sold the business, what would I do? And she's like, who cares? Like, you'd have some money to live on. Like, you'd go and do something else, right? And I was like, well, I don't want to sell the business. At that point, I was like, I don't want to sell the business to just go create another business.
So can I tell you a little story here?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
when I burned out of my business, like I say, I was vomiting multiple times a day, every single day. And for, I don't know, about a month, maybe 2 months after I closed my business, the only thing my brain could think of in between all the vomiting and the, like the constant pain was, what's my next business going to be? That's the only thing that my brain was focused on. Like,
Wow.
and during that time, I actually started a jewelry business.
Right? It's like, what's wrong
I
with
was
us? Oh
right.
my God.
But this is who we are. And I think we need to embrace that.
Yeah.
Because entrepreneurs, I'm going to say especially female entrepreneurs, because we do have it harder than the guys, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are driven by passion mostly. Yeah. And like, I have worked with people whose passion has just been money. That has been their passion. Yeah. I've worked with people whose passion has been healing people, housing people. But whatever it is, there's always this passion driving force. Yeah. This passionate driving force. So when we're not able to focus on that passion, for me, the safety net is directing that passion inwards. What is it that I need? What would satisfy me the most in this moment? What is my highest excitement right now? And following that. Because, our emotional system is our guidance system.
Amen, sister.
If things don't feel good, that's a sign that maybe we need to realign a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe we're heading down a path that isn't in our bestest good.
Totally.
So when we can direct the passion inwards and really decide, so playing to win, what does that actually mean? Because your winning might be different from my winning.
Totally.
So it's redefining that win.
Mm-hmm.
Redefining what happiness actually is, redefining what success actually is for us as individual people. Yeah. So maybe for some people, success isn't having millions in the bank. Maybe success is actually having enough money that they only need to work 3 hours a day and they get to spend all that other time with their family and friends. Yeah. So it's really working out A, what our passion in that moment is, and
Right.
B, what success, happiness, winning means. It means for us as individuals, rather than following what society tells us should make us happy, what society tells us should make us successful.
For sure. Last night, chatting with my best friend, she lives in Iowa, and we're chatting back and forth about stuff. And she's like, yeah, but because I had said, I guess I should, once again, be careful what I put out into the universe, because what I'm experiencing with someone in my life is basically what I had said. And now I don't like that. So like, I was like, I don't want like some needy guy who's like all over me and like all in my DMs and like, all that stuff, right? I want someone who's got his own life and doing his own thing. Well, that's what I've got. And I don't like it now. I'm like, what are you doing? Where are you? Right. And she's like, you got what you asked for, but I think it's important for you to get clear on what you really want.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And so Yeah. And so that, I think that applies to anything, right? Like, what do I
Mm-hmm.
really want for my business? Right? What do I really want for the podcast? What do I really want? And like being unashamed, unafraid to just say that out loud.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, the universe, our
It's
highest self,
listening,
is always listening.
always
And our
listening.
brains, and it's not just, sort of the universe highest, all of that. Our brains are listening to us as well. We are telling our brains what to focus on, what to point out to us. Yeah. We
Right.
instruct our brains to find everything that we tell it to find, that
Right.
everything that we focus on. That's the reticular activating system, as I know you know about.
Totally. Right. Yeah. And, we're all human, right? So, like, I love telling people how I screw up everything because, sometimes people think, like they'll look at your whatever, your social media or whatever and go, oh, that chick's got it all together or whatever. And it's like, oh my God. So
No,
don't,
we're all
right?
just making it up as we go along,
Totally.
darling.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that. It's so good. So I love this. And along the same lines of like playing to win or,
Mm-hmm.
not being afraid to lose kind of thing is obviously risk taking.
Yeah, yeah. But it's also acceptance of who you are if you lost everything. Who would
Right.
you be in that moment, right? Because once you can really accept that version of you, yeah, the version of you that hasn't got the money, that hasn't got the house, that hasn't got the family, that hasn't got the title and all of that, once you are fully in acceptance of that, then you don't feel the fear of it anymore because it's not
So
an
good.
unknown entity.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
this is so good. So I recently did a workshop meditation thing with Joe Dispenza, and it was all about identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, I was like, damn you, Michelle. I realized that there's a huge part of my identity is a successful woman business owner. And I actually don't like that. Right. And so then I found myself in conflict with that. Right. But it's there. And it's like, it's this identity of being this successful, 7-figure business owner or whatever. And then underneath that is like the money, right? The confidence, the self-esteem, the comforts, right? And I'm like, there's a whole identity wrapped up in this. And what was interesting to me is that I actually don't like that identity in myself
Well, that's interesting though. But why don't you like that identity of yourself?
because I think I see it online and I don't believe it for a lot of people. I've seen, and I think because I've coached hundreds of people who are in their online world telling everybody how they're living their private jet lifestyle and all that jazz. And I've seen either their books because they're a client, or I've coached them. And so I know what's going on. And it's a facade.
Mm-hmm. For them,
And
it's a facade.
totally, totally. And then I feel like I don't want to be that.
But are you a facade? So if you look at the facts of your success,
Mm-hmm.
is it all real? The facts of your success,
It,
or
it,
are you a facade like these other people?
it is now,
It
but
is now,
I think
right?
that in the past, it hasn't been, right? Like if
But
I think back
yeah,
to 2016 to 2020, I think there was a lot of fakeness in me, whether I was out speaking or I was online or whatever. There was a lot of fake stuff going on about success and my success and stuff like that.
but that's not the case now.
It's not now.
And now you're a completely different person than the person you were then.
I am.
So why are you still having the same opinions of yourself as you had about that version of you then?
Well, I think that it comes down to deeper beliefs and conditioning, right? That I need to work harder. I'm not good enough as I am. there's always that next level, keep going, all of that, I think comes into play, right?
Right.
And at the same time, I think that I'm at a time in my life, like I'm 55. I'm at a time in my life where priorities are changing. It's like a transitional time, right? My kids are, they're grown now. They're kind of leaving the home. I'm divorced. Like there's just, there's shifts happening, right?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
I feel like I have a great opportunity now to look at what is the identity of Michelle, the future Michelle.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. You know, I'm going to be 50. Yeah, I'm going to be 55 next month. So
Happy birthday.
I'm with you on this.
Right? Yeah.
One thing I know, though, is that it's really easy to look back at our previous versions of ourselves. Yeah. Want to apply the knowledge and understanding that we have now to them. Yeah. Yeah. And so
That's
then we
good.
get to look down on ourselves because that version of us didn't know what we know now. Right.
Yeah.
But how could they? How could they ever know what we know now? Because we are learning and growing
True.
and expanding all the time.
And you have to go through it, right? To learn these things, right?
Exactly. Right. And maybe that fake Michelle of whatever year that was that you said, 2009 or whatever, maybe they were just doing the best that they could with the knowledge and understanding that they had at the time.
Totally. Totally. Like she totally was, right? Like she didn't know. Like
Right.
and the world is different too, right? So
And maybe, just maybe, if that fake Michelle, in inverted commas, hadn't experienced all of that and hadn't sort of faked it to make it type thing,
right,
hadn't put out into the universe, I am this successful multi-millionaire version of me, maybe today's Michelle wouldn't actually be the Michelle that she is right now.
So good, Janet. Right? Yeah. So you can totally see how, like, maybe that version of Michelle was almost like future casting.
Right.
Right. And being like, well, we're going to live now, even though we're not there, we're going to live in that energy. Right. We're going to put that out. I love that. Oh my God. Because it totally circles back to me, in this contemplation time of like, what's the future for Michelle? Right. Like, what does that look like? What's her identity and how does she make decisions, right? What's her barometer for like what she likes and doesn't like? And yeah, that's so good. So good, Janet. Love it.
So maybe now you can look back at that fake Michelle and show her love and compassion and embrace all that she was, right?
Yeah, because she got me here.
Because when you do, she got you there, right? So maybe
totally.
the identity that she was creating is also something to be loved.
So meta, right? Like, oh my God. Right. Like, and, people talk about this, right? Talk about, like be the person you want to be or, dress like that person or whatever. Right. And I can look at it in that lens now that is something that I was doing. And you have just helped me flip this whole thinking on its head. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. Little coaching session in the box. That's awesome. So good. So good. Oh my God. So obviously we'll put all of your contact details in the show notes and stuff. But if people want to follow you around in the social realm, where do they find you? Where do you hang out the most?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on TikTok now as well, which is quite fun.
Yay. Are you dancing on TikTok?
I'm not dancing.
I personally love TikTok. I had surgery recently and I ended up like, it was quite extensive surgery. And so I had several weeks kind of in bed or, kind of lying down a little bit. And so I spent a lot of time on TikTok, and I found a lot of doctors who did the surgery I had, and they were talking about, I was like, this is a wealth of knowledge. This isn't just like dancing videos.
Right. Yeah, I was so reluctant to go onto TikTok, but I was like, well, I'm making all these YouTube shorts. I might as well just repurpose them into TikTok,
Yeah.
Totally. I keep finding these little pockets of TikTok that are really quite fun and nice and little, sort of teenage boys with their guitars singing like the Everly Brothers. It's like,
I know. I found there was this one guy, he's from London, actually. I got down his little rabbit hole of music. That was awesome. And then I found this other guy, he does vibrational music, and that was really awesome. And there's just a lot available to us now in the world, right?
There is, yeah.
Why not?
100%.
Right? Why not get in there? Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time today to spend with me and for coaching me through my own limiting beliefs and stuff. I so appreciate you. I really encourage my listeners to reach out to Janet. You just heard her coach me through this, and I feel like I have a whole new understanding of myself. So thank you. I'm incredibly grateful.
Thank you, Michelle. It's been, I've loved chatting with you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me today and hanging out with me and Janet. I think so many of us have been taught to hustle, grind, and climb to the top. But when you get there, it can feel empty as fuck. And that's why I was so excited to bring this episode to you guys. Sitting down with Janet, who I met a few months ago at a networking event, in recording this episode, changed my life. This is a life-changing moment. You heard her coach me through my own limiting beliefs and my own conditioning around identity. I think hearing Janet sharing her story about burnout and fear-based decision-making, which ultimately led to transforming her life and finding true happiness, to be very inspirational. So I would love to hear what your gold nugget takeaway is. If something was life-changing for you, or, a moment of pause and contemplation, hit me up in my DMs. Slide on in, sister. And check us out next week for a solo episode of the Rich Life Revolution. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you got at least one gold nugget today. Be sure to grab your copy of the Rich Life Revolution workbook to help you set the foundation for your next level of wealthy. Get it now at richliferevolution.ca, and I'll see you later.